The sirens echoed across the orbital outpost as Commander Yalin sprinted through the corridor. The lights above him flickered red, and the walls trembled with distant impacts. They were under attack, but not from any known enemy. The warning came too late. Yalin ducked into the medical bay, clutching his side. Blood soaked through his uniform. He had been hit by shrapnel during the first strike on the command deck. No medics were in sight. Just broken equipment and overturned tables. He pulled himself up onto a table and tried to breathe slowly. Panic would only make the bleeding worse. Outside, screams and shouting filled the halls. Something about the attack didn't make sense. Their enemies used plasma, not energy pulses like these. Whatever was hitting the station came from a different design, a different civilization. This wasn't war, it was a warning from something new. Suddenly, the door slid open with a hiss. Yalin flinched, ready to fight, but froze when he saw her. She wasn't human. Tall, elegant, skin the color of ocean at twilight, long white hair glowing in the emergency lights. Her eyes locked with his, sharp but filled with concern. She wore a white coat, strange symbols embroidered across her chest. She looked like a doctor, but not from any world he knew. The alien nurse moved with practiced grace, speaking in her native tongue at first. Then she adjusted a device on her wrist, and her voice shifted to a translation frequency. "You are injured. Lie still. Do not resist," she said calmly. Her fingers pressed against his chest with warmth that surprised him. Yalin tried to speak, but his throat was dry. The nurse activated a scanning device above his body. It hummed with violet light, mapping his internal injuries. Her expression changed. Her eyes widened. Her cheeks, previously the same cool blue, as her skin suddenly flushed bright red. She took a step back, startled. What did the scan show? Yalin croaked. She didn't answer. Instead, she stared at the display, then at him again. Her hands trembled slightly. Then, without warning, she disabled the scan and stepped closer, placing her hands on either side of his face. "This is urgent," she said softly. The nurse glanced at the door, then at the damaged equipment. Whatever she found in the scan was unexpected, something she didn't want anyone else to see. She leaned closer and whispered, "I require privacy for your examination. Now." Her tone was firm, but her voice cracked slightly. Yalin wasn't sure if it was fear or something else. He had seen fear on many faces. This wasn't it. This was curiosity, shock, and something he couldn't quite name. Her hand brushed his temple again, lingering. He realized she was not just examining him. She was reacting to something deeper. Something biological. Something personal. Outside the medbay, the sounds of battle faded into silence. Had the attackers retreated? Or was the outpost lost? Yalin couldn't focus on that anymore. The nurse, this alien woman, was staring into his eyes like she saw something sacred. Her voice was softer now. "You should not be alive. And yet your blood pattern matches ancient code," she whispered. Yalin's heart pounded. His blood felt like fire. The nurse opened a sealed cabinet and removed a new device, attaching it to his wrist. It sent a mild shock through him. His pain dulled, and a strange warmth spread across his limbs. She said nothing. She was scanning him again, but more carefully, more personally. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. Her answer came slowly. "Because you are the key," she said, "to something we lost long ago. I must understand you fully before the others find out." Her face was still flushed. Her eyes did not blink. "There are things I must examine that only I can interpret," she added. Then she sealed the doors. Yalin's instincts screamed for caution, but he felt no threat from her. Just tension. Deep, unusual tension. The kind that didn't belong on a battlefield. Her hand hovered near his side, and she whispered something in her own language again. A prayer, maybe. Or a vow. She looked different now. Not just an alien. Nurse. She looked like someone holding a secret too large for her own body. A secret about him, about humans. About something buried in bloodlines across galaxies. And whatever it was, it had made her cheeks glow like sunrise. She leaned closer again. "Commander," she said slowly, "I need your full consent for what I'm about to do. Our codes require it. But know this, after this procedure, everything changes for you. And for me. Forever." The room felt smaller now, like the walls were pressing inward with every breath Yalan took. The alien nurse adjusted her glasses with one hand and placed the other over his chest, just above his wound. Her fingers glowed faintly, and he felt the energy pulse through him like a second heartbeat. She whispered instructions, but they were not in her language this time. They were in his. Somehow, the translator embedded in her wrist device was adapting fast, learning him, shaping words the way he thought them. Her voice was almost too smooth, too precise. Every syllable felt like a touch on his nerves. "You are holding genetic data older than my civilization," she said softly. "I don't understand how, but your blood is reacting to our technology. It shouldn't be possible. But it is, and I have to see what it means before Command finds out." He tried to sit up, but she gently pushed him down. "Stay still," she said. "The data may shift if your heart rate spikes. I must stabilize then I must scan again, but not just surface scan. I need a deep spectrum bio-read." Yalan narrowed his eyes. "What are you not telling me?" he asked. Her silence lasted too long. Her gaze flicked to the sealed doors and back to him. Then she whispered, "If I'm right, your blood might trigger an ancient protocol buried in my people's code. A protocol meant for extinction or rebirth." She moved quickly now, activating machines that weren't part of the standard medical bay. Hidden tools folded into the walls. They opened with light and sound unlike anything human built. It was clear this bay had been altered, and not by accident. Someone planned for this moment long before he arrived. She guided a thin probe toward his arm, pausing just before touching his skin. "Your DNA carries markers from a lost line," she said. "One we thought erased. But your body carries the sequence. That means the bond could still function." "Bond?" he asked. She nodded. Her cheeks flushed again, a deeper red this time. "If the code matches, it means you are compatible with royal lineage. Our system may see you as worthy of union. It's not just medical, it's ceremonial. And political." Yalan laughed once, then winced in pain. "I'm a soldier, not a prince," he muttered. The nurse did not smile. "Instead," she said, "you might become both if the system recognizes you. And once that happens, there is no going back. Your blood signature becomes permanent. Our archives will update. You'll be named and tracked." He stared at the ceiling, trying to understand the weight of her words. This was no longer about healing. This was about identity, connection, and possibly power he never asked for. She was watching him closely. Now not as a doctor, as something else. As someone caught between duty and desire. "The scan begins now," she said, her voice slightly shaky. The probe entered his skin with a cool touch. Lights danced across the screen beside her, glyphs flowing faster than he could follow. Her fingers moved across the display, pausing only when a sharp tone echoed through the chamber. She gasped. Her hands dropped to her sides. "It confirmed," she whispered. "You are genetically bound to a legacy thought dead." The system responded. It had acknowledged you. It even generated a title in your name. Yalan tried to speak but stopped. When he saw her expression, awe, fear, and something else. Her hand hovered inches from his cheek. "By law, I must now report this. But if I do, you will be taken, studied, kept away from your kind. You will never leave this sector again." The silence between them thickened. The hum of the machines was the only sound in the room. Then she asked very quietly, Do you want me to erase the scan and lie to command? Yalan blinked. You'd do that? She nodded slowly. Only if you ask me. Only if you trust me. Because if I erase it, only I will know the truth. And only I can protect you. But it means we are bound. Not by protocol, by choice. He looked into her eyes, saw no deception. Just a question she was too afraid to ask aloud. He could feel the war fading outside, replaced by a new tension, more personal, more dangerous. A bond between two species. And a secret worth killing for. Do it, he said finally. Erase the scan. I trust you. She didn't answer. She just reached out and touched the console. The data vanished in a blink. She turned away from the screen and faced him again. Then I am bound to you now, she said quietly. And I will protect you. Whatever the cost. Her hands trembled as she reached for his again. Yalan sat upright now, breathing slowly as the pain in his side dulled under the alien treatment. The nurse moved differently than before, slower, more deliberate. Like every step she took now carried the weight of something irreversible. She looked over her shoulder at him and whispered something under her breath, not meant for translation. Her eyes lingered on the sealed medical bay door. We have little time, she finally said aloud. Soon they will realize I've blocked the transmission logs. He watched her activate a screen that flickered with strange symbols. What are you doing now? He asked. She didn't meet his eyes. I'm removing all traces of your genetic scan from the central core. If anyone finds out what the system confirmed, your life will no longer be yours. Yalan shifted on the bed, muscles aching. But why help me? You don't even know me. She turned then, walking slowly toward him. Her voice was low, but not cold. Because your bloodline carries a pattern from the first accord. A time when our people and yours were something more than enemies. Something closer. And if the pattern is active in you, it means the accord was never truly broken. He narrowed his eyes. You're saying I'm some ancient key? She didn't answer with words. Instead, she knelt beside him and placed her palm against his chest again. You are not just a key, she said. You are a reminder of something sacred. Something lost. Outside, footsteps passed down the corridor. She froze, ears twitching at the sound. Her hand tightened on his, then silence returned. She stood. Quickly, we can't stay here, she said. The station's outer sectors are already breached. If the command sees my access logs, we'll both be detained. Yalan tried to stand, groaning from the effort. She helped him up with surprising strength. You're still healing, she said. But you'll walk. My treatment will hold for now. We must reach the lower core. There's a route to the launch bay from there. He leaned on her as they moved through the dim corridor. Emergency lights pulsed above them. The station creaked like it was alive, wounded, and afraid. The nurse tapped into wall panels as they passed, sealing doors behind them and opening paths where none existed before. You've done this before, he muttered. She nodded. I've prepared for this possibility for years. I just didn't know it would be you. They turned a corner and stopped. A patrol unit stood in the hallway, tall, metallic, four-armed with scanning rods raised. Its sensors glowed red. Yalan reached for his sidearm, but the nurse stopped him with a glance. Let me handle this, she said. She stepped forward and spoke in her language. The machine scanned her badge, paused, then turned its attention to Yalan. Human not registered, it said in broken Terran. Submit for processing. The nurse's hand moved too fast to see. She pressed something on her wrist, and the patrol unit's sensors flickered. A pulse of static filled the air, and the machine slumped forward into shutdown. Yalan stared at her, stunned. You just knocked it out, she nodded calmly. I gave it false memory logs. It thinks it already scanned you and cleared you. We have maybe 12 minutes before it resets. They hurried past. As they reached the junction to the lower core, she stopped suddenly and turned to him. "There's something else I haven't told you," she said. "The genetic bond isn't just symbolic, it's physical. Our biology responds to it. Once confirmed, the connection begins to evolve." Yalan frowned. "What does that mean for you?" Her face darkened with something between fear and longing. "It means I will start changing. And so will you. Emotionally. Physically. Our systems will try to align. It's not a choice anymore. The moment I erased your scan, I tied my life to yours." They stepped into a dark tunnel below the main sector. The air smelled of coolant and smoke. Lights flickered from far down the passage. The nurse hesitated before speaking again. "If we make it to the launch bay, I have a ship. But after that, you must decide. Escape with me, or return and risk being hunted." Yalan didn't speak for a long moment. Then he looked at her and said, "We leave together. Whatever this is, it started with both of us. We finish it the same way." She didn't reply. She just reached for his hand and gripped it tight. Asterisk. The air inside the lower tunnel felt heavier than the rest of the station. Jalen's boots echoed on the steel floor, and the nurse's steps stayed close behind him. Each turn brought them closer to the hangar, but farther from anything familiar. The nurse paused at a junction door, placing her hand on the wall. Blue lines lit up beneath her fingers, and the door hissed open. Behind it lay a maintenance shaft, cramped but passable. "We'll go through here," she said. "It bypasses the main scanners." Yalan looked at the tight space. "You've memorized all of this?" he asked. She nodded once. "Every path, every blind spot. I've spent years building a way out in case the day ever came. I just never imagined I'd be running with a human." As they crawled through the shaft, Yalan felt heat rise through his skin. Not from exertion, but from something deeper. His breathing grew shallow. "Is it hot in here?" he asked. The nurse turned her head slightly. "No, your body is reacting to the bond." She reached for a small injector from her belt. "This will slow the effects, but only for a few hours. Our systems are syncing. Blood pressure, pulse, even brain activity. You are becoming more like me, and I am becoming more like you." Yalan stared at the injector, then offered his arm. The pinch was quick, followed by a strange coolness in his veins. "How far does it go?" he asked. "If the bond continues?" She was quiet for a moment. "Far enough that we could feel each other's thoughts, each other's pain. Even distance won't stop it." They emerged from the shaft into a shadowed service tunnel. Faint red lights guided the path to the launch bay. The nurse pulled out a hidden access card and scanned the next door. "We're close now," she whispered. "My ship is docked on the edge. A prototype built for stealth. No registration. No tracking." The door opened, revealing the outer corridor leading to the hangar. But a group of armored figures waited near the far entrance station enforcers. Their helmets shimmered with scanner light, and their weapons were already drawn. The nurse grabbed Jalen's wrist and pulled him back. "They're looking for us," she said. "They must have found the trace logs before I could purge them completely. We need another route." She tapped into a side panel, searching for alternate access. Nothing responded. "Too much power failure," she muttered. "They're locking down everything." Yalan stepped forward, placing his hand over hers. "Then we go through them," he said. "We don't hide anymore. We've come too far to crawl away now." The nurse looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You're not just reacting to adrenaline," she said. "Your decision-making is faster, more aligned with my kind. The bond is accelerating. It's syncing your mind to survive situations like mine." He smirked. "Then maybe it's time they found out what that means." They stepped from the shadows. The soldiers turned, raising their rifles. "Halt and identify," one of them shouted. Yalan raised both hands slowly. The nurse stood beside him, calm but focused. The lead enforcer stepped forward. You are holding restricted genetic data. Surrender now or be terminated under Security Code 7. Jalen's heart beat faster. But before he could speak, the nurse raised her hand and activated a signal from her wrist. A flash of white light burst from the ceiling, blinding the enforcers. They staggered back as Yalen rushed forward, knocking one off balance and grabbing the fallen weapon. The fight was brief but brutal. The nurse moved like water fast, precise. Her strikes never missed. Within seconds, the hallway was silent, the soldiers unconscious. Yalen leaned against the wall, panting. "We're clear," he said. She helped him back to his feet. "The ship is just ahead," she said. "Once we're off station, they won't follow us. Not without orders. And if I'm right, no one will dare give those orders once the data is gone." The launch bay doors opened. Her ship was small, sleek, and dark like glass under stars. Yalen followed her inside, barely able to breathe as the engines hummed to life. The moment they lifted off, the station shrank behind them. Alarms sounded in the distance. But no pursuit came, only silence. And a strange new pulse in Jalen's chest that did not belong to him alone. He looked at her. She looked at him. No words were needed now. The ship glided into dark space, leaving the chaos of the orbital station behind. Inside, everything was silent except for the low hum of energy systems and the synchronized breathing of two lives now bonded by something neither could fully explain. Yalen sat in the co-pilot chair, watching stars blur into streaks. He didn't understand her navigation panel, but he knew the direction mattered less than the decision. He was no longer part of the war. He was part of something deeper, something ancient. The nurse moved across the cockpit, her motions graceful, yet filled with tension. Her face remained flushed, her breathing controlled, but her hands shook slightly as she pressed commands into the console. "We need to reach a place they won't track. Somewhere forgotten by both our species," she sighed. He looked at her closely. "You said the bond would change us." "I didn't think it would feel like this so soon." She hesitated before answering. "It's reacting faster than I expected. I can feel your presence even when I close my eyes. Your thoughts come in fragments, images, feelings. It's like your soul is brushing against mine." Yalen placed his hand on the console to steady himself. "It's like standing in two places at once, inside myself and inside you." She sat down across from him. "We have hours before we reach the hidden sector. You should rest. Your body needs time to adjust. And the deeper the bond goes, the more strain you'll feel without grounding." He nodded but didn't move. "What about you? How are you holding up?" She smiled faintly. "I've trained for this possibility, but not for the emotion that came with it. I didn't expect to feel what I feel now." Yalen didn't press her. He already felt it too. A pull that wasn't just chemical or instinct. It was like gravity, invisible but impossible to ignore. He leaned back in the chair, closed his eyes, and felt her presence like a heartbeat beside his own. Time passed strangely inside the ship. Jalen's mind drifted, but not into sleep. He saw flashes of memories that were not his. A silver moon over violet waters. A child's voice in a language he didn't know. A medical hall filled with quiet singing. Visions of her past sent through the bond. He opened his eyes and saw her watching him. "You saw it," she said quietly. "My memories. You touched them. That means we've reached the second phase." "The second phase of what?" he asked. She stood slowly. "Of unity. We are beginning to share not just biology, but identity. Your thoughts and mine may soon become indistinct. We'll start dreaming together, feeling things before the other speaks. Some say it's beautiful. Others call it a curse." Yalen exhaled slowly. "Which do you believe?" She looked out. "The viewport. I used to fear it. Now I don't know. You're not what I expected. You're not weak or cold or selfish. Your blood held more than a code. It held purpose. The ship beeped as it exited warp. Ahead of them was a planet shrouded in mist, surrounded by broken satellites and drifting relics. "This is it," she said. "This world was once sacred. Now it's forgotten. No one will search for us here." The descent was quiet. The atmosphere burned briefly around the hull, then cleared into violet skies. They landed near a ruined temple made of silver stone, half covered in vines and frost. She led him outside without a word. The air was cool and still. The ground beneath their feet hummed faintly. "This place is built on harmonic stone," she said. "It reacts to energy, emotion, the perfect place to measure the bond safely." Yalin looked at the broken towers and ancient symbols. "What happens now?" he asked. She stepped closer. "We enter the temple. We let it read us. If the bond is true, it will open the chamber. If it's not, it will reject us." Yalin felt the tension rise in his chest. "And if it rejects us?" She didn't blink. "Then we die together. The bond will collapse. Our systems will fail. The connection won't allow separation once it's begun." He didn't step back. He reached for her hand instead. Her fingers tightened around his, and together, they stepped into the temple, the silver stone beneath. Their feet pulsed as Yalin and the nurse crossed the temple threshold. The doorway closed behind them, sealing out the sky and light. Inside, the air was thick and warm, glowing with soft blue veins that moved like liquid light through the walls. The chamber before them was round and quiet. Symbols lined the stone in spirals. At its center stood a raised platform with two shallow indentations, one shaped like a human hand, the other more slender, curved, and inhuman. She pointed to the platform. "This is where we place our hands. The temple reads not just blood, but intention. The bond must be willingly affirmed by both sides. There can be no doubt." Yalin stepped forward and stared at the human-shaped mark. "If we do this, what changes?" he asked. She was already placing her hand above her side of the stone. "Once affirmed, the bond finalizes. You and I will be forever linked. Your life will echo in mine, and mine in yours. Pain, joy, truth, even death will pass through both of us." He didn't flinch. He lowered his hand into place. The stone turned gold beneath their palms. A low hum filled the room, rising with each heartbeat. The walls shimmered with light, symbols dancing in a rhythm that felt like breathing. The nurse gasped and fell to her knees. Yalin dropped beside her, catching her before she collapsed. Her body trembled, her skin bright with bioluminescent lines that hadn't been there before. "It's working," she whispered. "The temple is rewriting us, aligning our systems. It sees us as one." Yalin felt it too. A current ran through his bones like his blood was being called by something ancient. His thoughts blurred, overlapping with hers. He felt her childhood, her training, the moment she first saw him on the medbay table, her curiosity, her fear, her growing warmth. He gritted his teeth as a sudden wave of pain rushed through his body, but it passed quickly, replaced by an overwhelming calm. "Are you okay?" he asked her. She nodded slowly, her body still glowing. "We passed the first phase, but the temple is not done. It will test us one final time." The ground beneath them rumbled. From the walls emerged two crystalline shapes, translucent and alive with pulsing light. They moved with purpose, circling the platform like guardians. The nurse stood again, her expression unreadable. "These are constructs. They read loyalty. They sense betrayal. If either of us hesitates, they will know." Yalin took a breath and held her gaze. "Then we don't hesitate." Together they stepped forward. The constructs pulsed brighter and stopped in front of them. Without warning, a beam of light shot into Jalen's chest. He didn't feel pain, only a pull, a reading, a scan beyond tissue and mind. The nurse stood tall as another beam hit her, and her jaw clenched as if facing something personal. Lights dimmed. The constructs vanished into the walls. The silence returned. Then the floor beneath them shifted, revealing a hidden chamber filled with light so pure it looked solid. In the center was a pool of glowing water. She walked toward it breathless. This is the heart of the temple. It exists to confirm what no machine can. If we step into it and survive, then the bond is true. And irreversible. Yalan followed her without hesitation. The moment their feet touched the glowing water, the temple reacted. The light rose around them, wrapping their bodies in warmth and pressure. He felt her heartbeat blend into his. Felt her thoughts like whispered memories. His lungs burned. His vision blurred. But he held her hand tighter. She whispered his name, and he heard it as if spoken from within his own mind. Then the light exploded outward and vanished in a flash. They stood in the pool, gasping, skin still glowing. The water calmed. The chamber fell silent again, but the change had already taken place. They were no longer two separate beings. Their connection was whole. She turned to him, her voice quiet but clear. We passed. The bond is permanent. The temple has recognized us. Now the rest of the galaxy will have to accept it too. Yalan reached up and touched her cheek. Her skin was warm. Her eyes shimmered like stars. Then let them come, he said. The glow of the temple slowly faded, leaving Yalan and the nurse standing in the shallow pool. Their skin no longer shimmered, but something inside them had changed forever. They could feel each other's breath, thoughts, and even memories like threads of shared existence. The chamber opened behind them with a deep, mechanical groan. Light from the outside poured in, but it didn't feel like just another exit. It felt like a door into a different life. She looked at him, silent for a long moment. Then she said, "They will come for us, for the proof. For the bond, the temple marked us. They'll detect the signal soon." Yalan nodded. "Then we stay ahead. We use what we've become. Together, not just to survive, but to change everything." They believe is impossible. They stepped outside the temple and back into the light of the forgotten world. The ship waited quietly in the clearing, untouched, as if it too had been part of this test. The nurse walked ahead, her pace slower, but her steps stronger. She turned once more before entering the ramp. "You should know something," she said. "Before you, I never believed in the bond. I thought it was just ancient programming. A myth to make sense of genetic accidents. But now," he asked. She smiled gently. "Now I feel it in my bones, in my heart. You're not just connected to me by fate, you're chosen. By me, by this world. And by something older than either of us." Inside the ship, the console lit up on its own. A new set of coordinates had appeared, etched into the system. Neither of them had entered them. The temple had left them a path. One final destination. She sat beside him in the cockpit, closer than before. He didn't need to speak to know she was ready. He could feel her trust, her fear, and her hope like echoes within him. He placed his hand over hers and looked to the stars. The engines ignited. The ship lifted slowly from the ground. The world shrank beneath them, but what they had found would only grow stronger. Yalan watched the stars stretch ahead, and felt the presence of the bond settle deep in his chest. Not as a burden, but as a guide. He had entered this station as a wounded soldier. Now he left as something entirely new. A bridge between species, a witness to ancient truth, and the chosen bondmate of a nurse who no longer scanned for answers, but stood ready to build them together.